You've been sent back in time to a school full of monsters and psychotic killer ghosts. What are you gonna do? Your mission is to find and destroy a mysterious key that will cause the end of the world, but your only weapon is an old Nokia torch with a carbon dating camera. You're gonna be forced to play tag with ghosts and blood-sucking monsters, and there's no escape. I'm gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the mysterious ghosts in Occult Academy. This girl has no idea she's gonna be murdered! Maya here is not your average study abroad chick. She's actually the daughter of the headmaster of Waldstein Academy. I hate to break it to you, but her father just died and the killers are still on the loose. Maya doesn't know this yet, mind you, and she's gonna find out in the most brutal way possible. Maya returns to Japan and heads to her father's school. On the way, the cab driver warns her to be careful because the school is also known as the Occult Academy. He's also kind enough to inform her that the principal, her dad, died recently of a heart attack. When she walks into the assembly hall, the funeral service is already on and she's late. The vice principal, Kawashima-san, approaches her and consoles her for the death of her dad, but between the two, I would say Kawashima might be missing Maya's father more than Maya herself. But Maya doesn't seem to care. She takes her seat with her childhood friend Ami and gossips about her with the girl in the nerd glasses. Kawashima heads back to the podium and brings out a tape with the late principal's final message to his students. She tells them that she listened to the beginning of the message, and when she learned it was for the students, she brought it over to play for them. She has no idea that this singular decision will kill almost everybody here. Kawashima plays the message, and it turns out the principal decided to be an occult specialist to the end, and for his final trick, he decided to show them something science can't explain, to make them continue studying at his Occult Academy. However, the spell goes wrong because our able principal mistakenly summons an ancient dead spirit, and as you expect, the dead spirit enters the corpse of Mr. Principal and decides to dish out one final round of trauma for all the students. The students panic and run while Kawashima-sensei takes a moment to consider just how dumb she looks for playing a recording that summons a freaking angry dead spirit! And just when Mr. Principal's ghost is about to attack a helpless nerd girl, Maya shows up with a chair and Randy orns the crap off her ghosty dad. She forces the corpse back into the coffin and calms everyone down by telling him that it's all fake and there's no real ghost. And that works until the demon breaks out again, because while Maya is busy giving her passionate speech about how all her dad's work is fake, the spirit comes out from the coffin and attacks again, causing widespread panic. The teachers finally open the door for their students to escape from, but the spirit breaks through the ceiling and flies off to somewhere. Okay, this is just sad. She could have saved the students the trauma, the panic and injury if she just done things a little bit differently. Kawashima already pointed out that she listened to the beginning of the recording. That's where things started to go downhill. Everyone knows the late principal was head over heels about the occult. You would think by working with him for so long, Kawashima knew that probably not all of the principal's experiments always went the way he wanted. So if I'm her, maybe we should listen to the full recording first, because we're listening to it on our own. There would be no dead body nearby for the spirit to possess. Even if possession occurred, we would have been able to take care of it without causing widespread panic. Everybody knows the one recipe for disaster is to gather a bunch of people to a location with only one exit. Next mistake. Considering that it was the principal's funeral, there's no reason to leave the doors locked. Why would you do that? We gotta keep the doors open. In an Occult Academy, preparation is the first rule of survival. Now to the biggest mistake. For the Occult Academy, they were really caught off guard with this undead spirit. Like, aside from the students who immediately started freaking out and running around like little wussies, the teacher ought to know some basic exorcism type stuff or containment spells that could keep the monster in a defined location. Because honestly, if you're gonna dabble in the occult, you gotta maybe learn a few protective spells, don't you think? Maya and her friend chase after her father's possessed corpse. Despite what she said before, Maya actually knows a lot about occult stuff. Nerd girl introduces herself as Kazue. Ami returns with two strange dudes, a spiritist and a super strong mechanic. Together they continue the search, but the spirit manages to suddenly possess Kozue. Everywhere turns green and Kozue runs like a zombie spider on the floor, and even while possessed, Kozue is so blind that she can't see without her glasses. Maya chases after the ghost alone and walks into a genjutsu because she sees dear old dad. He tries to use Toku no Jutsu on her, but she sees through it and literally lops her father's head off. The spirit is shocked and forced to return to the spirit realm. As the genjutsu clears, the room turns back to an executioner's room that would have been Maya's grave. Later they sew the head back to the body and complete the funeral rites. But Kawashima here and her cute bodyguard throw in a little gossip about Maya. They can't let their guard down because she is the principal's daughter. Maya heads out to the veranda and gets some air and process it all. She blames the school for the problems in society and decides that before it can cause any more damage, she will destroy the school. And that's when her phone drops beside her and she picks it up. But as Maya looks up and sees the rebirth of terminal Terminator because the sky opens and this butt-naked dude just descends like an angel from the sky. So now we have this naked Terminator chasing her around like a dude on a mission to reproduce machines with his, ding-a-ling dangling all over the forest. After she escapes the naked Terminator, Maya heads home and watches the spoon-bending kid, Uchida Fumiaki. But she quickly gets bored because she's tired of the occult. She grabs the phone she grabbed earlier in the day and takes a selfie because, she's like, hey, I'm cute. But when she flips the phone around, all she sees are skeleton bones. The next day, she decides to fill in for her late dad as the principal of the school. But things take a weird twist when Terminator returns and enrolls as a student at the school. Kawashima introduces him as Abe Minoru, but Maya's not buying it. They spend the first few seconds in single combat, but after Maya beats him, he confesses that he is from the future and has come to change the past to save his timeline. And he gives a rundown of the future, which is basically that it was overtaken by aliens, and now he's been sent back to stop them from ever arriving. Minoru explains that the Nostradamus prophecy comes to pass, and her dad's academy was the portal through which the rift opens to another world. He must find and destroy something called the Nostradamus key to prevent that future from happening again. Minoru also explains that the reason Maya saw skeleton bones when she took a picture is because the picture shows what the person in the picture looks like in 2012, meaning that our headstrong lady has already kicked the bucket. Maya doesn't buy it and she sends him packing from her office. Later, she goes to the cremation site where her father is burned, but once it's all over, she heads back home all alone. But after leaving, Kawashima and her bodyguard get all giddy. Kawashima believes that if Maya becomes the principal, she would find out what they're desperately trying to cover up. Meanwhile, Maya goes to take a bath, but while bathing, someone enters the bathroom. She pulls the curtain apart, but no one's there. As she continues to look though, blood markings appear on her window, warning her to not interfere. She ignores it, but as she goes back to her room, something breaks her window and strolls in like the silhouette of a young girl. Before Maya can make sense of what's going on, Minoru comes in flying into her room like Tarzan, and he manages to take her attention off of the ghost for too long. Luckily, before it can attack, they discover a hidden message in the wall and run into it for safety. The creature chases after them and almost strangles Maya to death. However, she uses up virtually all her luck stat because a brick suddenly flies out of the wall and a shining light from the wall banishes the creature. Inside the wall, she finds her father's old notebook and there's a warning inside. He tells them to get away because in truth, someone killed him because of the Nostradamus key. Now look, there's a lot of information going around here. With everything Maya has learned so far, she should not act this way. A ghost just attacked her in her own house and she has no idea how to defend herself. She has no idea when the next ghost is going to come waltzing in, or if it would decide to get creative and add something into her food before she settles down to eat. And more importantly, she just learned that someone way more skilled and diligent in the dark arts, her father, was targeted and killed for engaging in the same kind of research she's dabbling into now. That's all the info I need. And guess what? She has even more. She has your father's permission to leave and go live a normal life. Maybe just take the opportunity, Maya, to get the F out of town for good. Daddy said, leave me, go do your own thing. Dad's already dead and buried and burnt to a crisp. She has nothing else to gain by staying in the occult. If she stays, she's gonna have to fight monsters, ghosts, and her life will always be in jeopardy. Like, she's not built for this fight. No. So how about we don't stay and fight? There's no honor in trying to avenge your father's death if it means you're gonna walk into your own death in the process. Because if you do, you end your legacy and his legacy, and the killer gets the pleasure of killing both of you. So instead, as soon as I read Daddy's note, I'm like, okay, bye-bye. Bye school, bye-bye. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to somewhere else, anywhere away from here. Instead, she enrolls in Minoru's class to help him find the key and investigate the death of her father for real. The next day, the students talk about the mysterious disappearances in their community. The folks blame a spirit called Tengu, but Maya isn't having any of it. She hates the occult. After classes, Minoru stops by Maya's office to debunk the Tengu myth. Instead, he gets another beating from Maya and ends up apologizing for laughing. They agree to investigate it later because anything could be the Nostradamus key. But on his way home, Kawashima stops Minoru and asks why is he meeting with Maya every day. Instead of answering, he takes out one of the oldest tricks in the book and compliments Kawashima's hairstyle and misdirects her attention away from the topic. He manages to escape, but his compliment will haunt him badly because Kawashima immediately falls in love with him. Like, in love with him. Weird. Minoru heads back home, and after escaping his creepy landlady, he turns on the TV and watches his younger self bend a spoon on national TV. And what does he do? He does the biggest mistake in time travel history, and he decides to call his mom, but he changes his mind at last minute and goes to get some curry. And that's when he meets this cute lady named Mikaze. She calls his younger self Fumiaki, a name only his mom agreed to call him, and our boy's smitten. Boy, he sure is, and he falls head over heels for this cutie pie immediately. The next day, Kozue doesn't show up in school, but Ami and Maya don't think much of it. Meanwhile, Minoru spends the whole day dreaming about Mikaze-chuan. At night, he heads down to the restaurant to eat and catch another glimpse of the beautiful damsel. She joins him at the table and promises to take him around town the next day. However, the ride around town has Minoru holding his heart all through because Mikase drives like Dominic Toretto on a mission to save his family, and the ride she shows up in is way too classy for the small town baddie. And Minoru is so freaking starstruck that his face turns red. After all their stops, they head down to the Zozan bunker. While they're busy sightseeing, Maya goes through countless maps and realizes that the best place the Tengu can be hiding is in the Zozan bunker. Maya goes to investigate the Tengu in the bunker and incidentally catches Minoru having the time of his life, but she ignores him and continues searching. And that's when she actually runs into an actual Tengu. She uses her bow and arrow on the creature, but she blows that and her gear falls off. When Minoru arrives at the school the next day, Kawashima informs him that both Maya and Kozue are missing. Minoru quickly joins the community to search for the missing girls, but he gets distracted when he runs into Mikaze-chuan. They head to a shrine, but while searching, Mikaze slips and falls on Minoru. Our virgin boy, eager for some action, also slips, but his hand lands on a loose brick. They push it and find that it leads into a tunnel. Minoru and Mikaze explore the tunnel together, but when a drop of water lands on our boy's back, he turns into a big wuss and runs away, leaving Mikaze all behind. When he gets his senses back, he tries to go in search of her, but he can't remember which way he came from, so now he has to search for the exit. Instead of the exit though, he runs into Maya. The duo try to search for the exit together, but instead they find a version of the world tree. Minoru takes a picture of it, but even the tree doesn't exist in 2012. Minoru gets caught slacking and falls into a pile of monster dump. He also finds the phone of the last time traveler before him, who was killed by the monsters. That's not all he finds, because while they're talking, a Tengu monster attacks them. They outrun it. But that's when Minoru tells Maya the real story of how he arrived in the past. Turns out he's not really a spoon bender like his former self and didn't get any cool mission. He was grabbed by the agency as an expendable person with nothing to lose and forced into the time machine. And Maya's really disappointed because she's now stuck with the worst of the worst, so she keeps him at arm's length. They keep walking till they find the Tengu nest, and inside of one of the cocoons, Kozue is busy sleeping without a care in the world. Maya gets her out of the cocoon, but in the process, they wake up the million sleeping moths. Minoru proves once again that he will never be a stud because he runs away, leaving Maya and Kozue to face the horde of Tengus alone. Maya searches her father's journal for a protection spell, but she doesn't find any before the Tengus find their appetite. But through the power of plot armor, which is mighty, the mechanic and the spiritist show up just in time to help them fight off the monsters. But the monsters are too many, so they eventually decide to run away. As soon as they escape the cave, a bomb goes off, sealing the monsters in. And Maya is really disappointed in Minoru, but he doesn't care because Mikaze shows up just in time to console him. Back in school, Kawashima's bodyguard tells her that the caves have been sealed, and she's impressed, but she's also getting tired of Maya's meddling. Great, they all survived, but if plot armor had been 1 minute later, it would have been bye-bye to Maya, Kozue, and Maya's plan for revenge is, well, history. Maya, you should have done more researching. Your biggest problem is that you tried to solve everything without any help. I get it, she wants to jump in, get the task done, but she forgets that she's not an occult specialist or skilled ninjutsu, taijutsu, or any type of jutsu anything. She's not even in the special forces, so instead of rushing into danger head first, maybe spend more time planning and researching. I recommend studying your father's journal properly. The spells in the journal are very powerful. They even activated on their own to protect Maya while she was in the house. If you can learn a spell or two, your defensive capabilities will go up a lot. Together with learning some spells, she should be willing to ask for help. Maya saw Minoru but decided to ignore him originally. Look, the cops and the rest of the elders in the community were both willing and able to join the search. All she had to do was ask. If we're in her shoes, you should create a wide search party with all the willing hands and designate areas within the cave to search, as well as signals to sound if we come across across anything. Each group should have an offense or defensive specialist to make sure no one gets seriously hurt or lost during the course of our searching. But because Maya is continuing to work on her own, she's now bringing herself to her own demise. The next day, Maya decides to continue searching for the Nostradamus key without Minoru because he is useless. But when it's time for class, she gives him a nasty stare that scares Minoru and makes him call innocent Ami to answer his question in class instead of Maya. After classes, Maya searches for Kozue because her nerd friend has been going too far in search of proof of occult stuff. Kozue comes back fully bandaged because she's been chasing a black cat to prove that it causes bad luck. However, Maya disproves her claim, and Maya even proves that most spirits caught as white dots on pictures is really just bad photography. Minoru gets free lunch on his table from his crush, Kawashima-sensei, but he runs away to meet with Mikaze. She asks him to help her get permission from the principal to sell her new bread within the school premises because she needs money to pay off her car loan. And although boy is on bad terms, he promises to help Mikaze, and at this point, she's got him dangling around her fingers. Later on, Kozue, Ami, and Maya are all alone on the rooftop, and Kozue opens up why she is so desperate to run into an occult encounter. Turns out she wants to prove they are real, but despite things happening to everyone around her, nothing has happened to her. Before school is over, Minoru gets a call on his future phone, and it's really just a tongue lashing from his bosses because they feel he's been slacking off in the past and he lost his original device. Instead of focusing on his mission, Minoru meets up with Maya and asks her for permission for Mikaze to do her sales. Despite being on bad terms, our girl stamps the approved sign on his forehead and he has to rub it on the proposal letter. Kozue volunteers herself for a near-death experience while all the other students watch. But when the experiment is over, Ami and Maya see something that looks like Kozue in the near-death chamber and it searches for its glasses. The teacher explains it away, but our girl is going to realize very soon that the person walking around with them is not their friend Kozue. After Kozue comes out of the near-death chamber, Maya and Ami notice that something is wrong. Kozue has lost all of her love and interest in occult stuff, and Ami suggests they meet Minoru for help, but Maya refuses. However, Minoru figures out something is wrong because he catches them passing notes, so he seizes them and goes through all of the papers. Meanwhile, Maya and Ami use every known trick to spur Kozue's occult side to come out, but everything falls on deaf ears. Back in town, Mikaze uses Minoru as her personal tasting pig for all of her new treats. When he's done overfeeding, he calls Maya. Although she's reluctant at first, she gives him the scoop on what happened with Kozue, and she convinces him to do a spoon-bending trick even though she knows he has lost the ability. The next day, Maya and Ami bring Kozue to the rooftop for the meeting with the spoon bender, but once again, Kozue is not impressed. Kozue gives a speech on how the occult can't be real because it can't be proved by science, but while she laughs and mouths off, tears start running down her cheeks, and that's when Maya and Ami realize that something is very wrong. Maya and Ami believe their soul is trapped in the near-death chamber looking for her glasses. For the first time since he arrived in the past, our boy decides to do something noble. He offers to go into the near-death chamber and save Kozue. Maya gets the laboratory key from Kawashima, although Diro Sensei is desperate to hide something else. But when the time comes, Minoru absentmindedly takes off his pants a little too early and gives Maya and Ami a sight to remember. From outside the chamber, Maya finally understands Minoru a little bit more. Yeah, I would say so. She sees his past and the trauma that he suffered as a child from his mother, and it's very similar to what she experienced with her dad. She also sees the post-alien invasion future from his perspective. So while our boy is busy trying to save Kozue, Maya is busy falling head over heels for our boy. Anyway, Minoru finds Kozue's soul in the afterlife with just a few seconds to spare, and she's still looking for her glasses. He pulls it out from behind her hair and puts it on her face. Together, they return back to the land of the living. Woo! Okay, it looks like things are settled down here, but honestly, one wrong turn and the outcome could have been very different. This whole situation escalated only because Kozue was determined to see the supernatural for herself. First off, you gotta go to the teacher that allowed her to volunteer herself for the test. What you should have done was use this device as a community service project. There's lots of people in society looking for, spooky, almost near-death experiences to remember a forgotten memory or get in touch with a deceased loved one. Sensei should have gotten a willing lab rat with nothing to lose and used the person as an example for what he wanted to show his students. But that's not all. Maya and Ami had a role to play as well. Our girls tried to administer medicine after death. All the steps they took after Kozue lost her soul were things they should have done to stop her from venturing into the unknown. We have all of these kind of friends who are a little weird but make life all the more worth living. It would not have hurt our girl in the least if they had agreed with Kozue's weird demands even just once to give her a little feeling of success and belonging. Sure would have saved them the stress of having to find and return her soul to her body, but it doesn't matter if they knew what she was saying was fake. They should have acted like it was true even once, just for the sake of her own sanity. Kozue wakes up all vibrant and back to her old self for the first time, and Maya isn't mean to her boy anymore. Instead, she offers him her partnership again. However, just that afternoon, Maya Maya catches Minoro lacking again because he decides to help Mikaze-chuan sell her bread within the school hours, so Maya does the most logical thing, beats the SHIT out of him again. After school, Maya runs into Ami's dad. He tries to talk to her about occult stuff, but she brushes him off and walks away. What she doesn't know is that Ami was watching her. Back home, Ami and her dad have a conversation about Maya. They figure she's having a hard time dealing with her father's death, so they invite her over for dinner. The next day, Maya and Kozue head down to Ami's place for a girls' day in. To give them some privacy, Ami's dad pretends to be working all day while the girls catch up on old tales. Ami shows Kozue pictures of her childhood, and it turns out despite her mean outlook, Maya was originally a softie that loved the occult more than anything else. It takes a while, but even Maya starts laughing a tiny bit before the day is all done. Meanwhile, Minoro runs into the spiritist and the mechanic at Mikaze's shop. When the news comes on, there's a report about a mysterious alien sign found in a field, and as soon as Maya sees it, she tells Ami and Kozu that it's fake, but she immediately calls Minoro because she suspects it might be the Nostradamus key. Ami and Kozue are not her friends for nothing though. The girls see through her facade very quickly and join her in the investigation about the strange circles, and Ami's dad is all too willing to drive them there, but when Minoro checks with his phone, all he sees is arid land. Later that night, they investigate once again, and as they move, a UFO shows up and hovers around the field. Maya and Minoro start to get all excited and start a hot chase with the UFO, and it leads them to this farm where there are a bunch of dead cows with all of their blood drained out. But when Minoro gets a chance to take a picture of the UFO with his future phone, all he sees are pictures of the spirits and his children. Now the gig is up, so the spiritist and the mechanic come out of hiding and say they were employed by Ami's father to make a fake UFO sighting to encourage Maya to open up to the supernatural again like she did when she was a child. Obviously, she gets super mad because she just wasted time, so she freaks out on Ami's dad, and Ami isn't a wuss, so she stands on business and demands an apology from Maya. When she doesn't get it, she lets her palm do the talking with a big ol' slap across Maya's cheek. But then her dad does something weird by slapping Ami for defending him. Now before it gets any further, Ami runs away. The next day, everything's tense, it's all bad. Ami and Maya are not on talking terms, and poor Minoro can't teach his class at all. After sports, Ami tells Maya to meet her at a shrine so they can settle their differences like two adult ladies. Later, Maya meets up with Minoro to talk about the drained cow that he saw earlier. But Minoro says the mechanic and the spiritist had nothing to do with it. When Maya hears this, she says they have to look into the dead cow again. And this time when they get to the farm, they find a whole lot of dead cows, all drained of their blood. So now it becomes obvious that this is not a prank, but Maya already has an idea of what creature could be responsible. While Maya is busy investigating, Ami waits for her at the agreed location. But then Maya realizes how much time has gone and she rushes down to the shrine, but something else is waiting for her there. Before they get a chance to square things out, Kozue jumps in between them and tries to settle them. But she gets attacked by these green-looking monsters, and there's a lot of them. The giant one grabs Ami and runs away, and all the little minions follow suit. Maya immediately forgets about their beef and runs to get Ami's dad. Maya shares the nerd news that the creature is called a chupacabra. Once her dad hears it, he gears up like he's preparing for a freaking Avengers, endgame type of thing, and the spiritist joins them and serves as their GPS. On the way, they kidnap Minoro, although he just finished enjoying some really nice time with Mikaze-chuan, and they all walk into this creepy looking graveyard, but they get caught slacking again and Kozue disappears, and that's when the monsters show up and prove that it was really an ambush. But the team is really strong, so they fight off the first horde of monsters. Ami's dad sends Maya in alone while he stays out to lay down some cover for her, together with the rest of the studs, including Minoro, who is surprisingly useful and strong for once. Maya charges in alone and quickly finds Ami. Once she wakes up, it's now time for them to escape. As they fight their way out, they apologize to themselves for their bad behavior. After getting rid of the monsters, Minoro finally takes a picture of them, but they're not the Nostradamus key either. They do manage to find Maya sleeping beside a skull before they leave. Suddenly then they notice that the house they are in is on fire, so they run out as quickly as possible. But in the distance, Kawashima and her assistant watch them leave just before Kawashima's assistant announces that he set the building on fire. Kozue is happy to see her friends reunited, and they use the opportunity to inform her that they were not actually going to fight. Turns out the shrine was their favorite place to reconcile whenever they had a fight as kids. The next day, Minoro is back in simp mode. He hands some extra sales permission forms to Maya from Mikaze. She stamps them, but Minoro notices that she's going through some real estate papers, and for the first time, she stops him from taking a peek at them. In school, Kawashima-sensei takes the students for a practical class in manifesting a spirit. Jeez, you think they'd learn how to do that from the beginning. She decides to summon the late principal, and Kawashima says the spell and all the lights go out. And then this strange blue thing floats out of her mouth. But instead of changing into the principal, it changes into this young-looking girl. Whenever someone gets close to her, she vanishes like the wind. After classes, Maya and her friends go to the canteen, and Mechanic Dude comes over and shows Maya a strange kid that is stuck on his back, and it is the mystery ghost girl. She grabs Maya's hand and tells her that she wants to go home, so Maya says they will help her look for her home. Minoru promises to help, but as soon as Mikaze comes around, he abandons Maya and the little girl for his baby girl. What a loser. Maya finds the girl's home, but the girl suddenly starts freezing and causes a poltergeist. Everybody wants to run away, but Maya clearly proves that she's got some large cojones because she walks right into the ice storm and tries to help the girl. Instead, the girl just poof, disappears. And they learn then the history from her neighbor. And then Maya goes to find the girl's dad. The ghost's father is a bit of a nutcase because he believes his daughter died because of him. Meanwhile, Minoru tries to apologize for ditching Maya the previous day. He says he wants to know her better, but before the conversation is over, Mikaze shows up out of nowhere and calls him again. Minoru, being a true simp, immediately abandons Maya, and that makes her super angry, so she storms out of the room. Eventually, the ghost dad comes around and gives them the story of what happened. And then they plan a Christmas party for the girl. Minoru's date with Mikaze goes so well that he thinks it's time for him to finally leave the singlehood. That evening, Mikaze asks him to join her for dinner in her room. Before he can get to, well, you know where, Kawashima shows up and asks him to join her for dinner instead. When the fight for who gets the golden boy gets heated, Minoru runs away, but not before learning that Maya's house is about to be destroyed. He rushes down to Maya's house and finds her in a vulnerable state. She asks him to help with the Christmas surprise instead. Minoru dresses as Santa, but he gets jumped by the ghost's real dad. They say proper goodbyes, and after the party, the ghost spirit finally crosses over to the other side and her dad says his goodbye properly. Maya and Minoru head back to her house, but it's already been destroyed. Maya finally lets out her tears for her father's death, but only makes her more determined to find the Nostradamus key and figure out who killed her dad. The next day, Maya and Minoru continue to hunt for the key, but Kawashima and her bodyguard watch them very closely. Kawashima's not happy that they are traveling to another location because she thinks Maya's getting too close to the truth. After the day's search, Minoru heads back home, but he is greeted by a giant pair of, whoa, you know what? It's Mikaze, and somehow she let herself into the house. If he won't take the lead, then she'll just have to do it for him for free. She tries to seduce our boy for a bed, and when things start moving quickly, a mob gathers outside of Minoru's place and tell Minoru that they have to kill the witch. Minoru finally gets his first big kiss from Mikaze, but it comes with a big demand. She asks him to help them destroy Maya because Maya is the cause of all the evil that's been happening in the community. Turns out Mikaze knows about the Nostradamus prophecy, and now she and the rest of the town people believe Maya is the key to bringing down hell on Earth. Mikaze tells Minoru to steal Maya's protective charm, her father's notebook, so that the town people can kill her for good. The next day, after another failed attempt at finding the Nostradamus key, Minoru wants them to go home, but Maya is finally feeling nice and like a girl, so she takes him on a mini date. However, he keeps on seeing Mikaze's face telling him to kill the witch, until the boy almost goes like psycho. He confronts Maya about it and tells her everything Mikaze said. They fight for a bit, but Minoru isn't entirely useless. He warns Maya not to go back to town because there's a target on her back. But Maya's not one to listen, so of course, she goes back. When Maya arrives at the school, Kawashima is waiting for her with an evil smirk on her face. A few minutes later, Minoru sees police vehicles and an ambulance driving towards the school. He chases after them, but when he arrives, he finds Maya's bloody body on the floor. I knew someone was going to get hurt from all this poking and prodding and messing around with supernatural stuff. Maya should not have died. I blame her and Minoru for her death. Minoru got to the past from the future on a super secret mission. He should have kept it that way. No involvement of time travelers with the time they arrive in is one of the cardinal rules of time travel. But with Minoru, as soon as he arrives, he's like, oh, I'm from the future, dangling your family jewels in front of her face, and he took it further by involving her. This is what set the ball in motion for her death. And that's not all that he did. He's also guilty of simping big time. I knew something was off about Mikaze from the beginning, but still, she was like too forward, too willing to do all the good stuff to her naive little boy. And in my experience, if they're too willing, there's gotta be a catch. He should have been more stern with Mikaze. It would have given him the chance to be with Maya when she needed him most. And Maya's not any better. She read her dad's journal, telling her, yo, you should probably do something else with your life. Like, even if she wanted to stay back and investigated the murder, she could have done things differently. She could have added CCTV cameras to the school and her house. Remote coverage would allow her to operate the cameras from her phone or her computer, and she would always be able to keep track on who's entering or leaving. She should have learned some protective chants. These are high stakes right now, and we're dealing with occult practitioners who do not care if she dies. She should have taken her own security more seriously. Get a personal bodyguard, some chants, anything to help her defend herself. And let's not forget she was being targeted by an entire village, and she decides to go back? No. What we're gonna do is run away from school, find a bunker, find a safe house away from the community, and lie low for a few days. But Maya, being brazen and stupid and way overconfident, likely caused her to die. Minoru blames himself and heads back home to cry like a wuss. And that's when Kawashima shows up in his house and admits that she killed Maya. Maya. Minoru is about to throw some hands, but her bodyguard pushes him away like he skipped gym every day. But when he lifts up his eyes, Maya walks into the room. Kawashima reveals that she is actually a white mage that served Maya's father. The dead body they found was a duplicate made with her magic, and Maya is actually very much alive. Minoru finds it hard to believe, and he asks for one thing, the one thing only the real Maya would have, her father's notebook, and she gives it to him as proof. But as soon as he takes it, Mikaze floats into the room like a ghost and puts him into some weird barrier. She burns Maya's protective talisman and changes into a witch. Maya and Kawashima try to run away, but the entire town is after her because they are under Mikaze's spell. Kawashima decides to be a badass and fight off the black mage, so she releases her hidden chakra and the fight starts. Mikaze reveals that she killed Maya's father, but Kawashima stops Maya from attacking her. Mikaze and Kawashima face off, while Kawashima's guard protects Maya from the rest of the town. He even turns into a Black Panther just to help her get away. Mikaze summons monsters and proves she was the culprit behind the multiple monsters and the strange phenomenon happening all over. Maya's friend finds Maya running away from the townspeople, so they chase after her. Meanwhile, Kawashima's already getting tired. The mechanic and the spiritist fight Minoru's landladies, and for old women, they're really strong. Kawashima gets caught off guard when Mikaze tells her that Minoru tasted her lips. That's when the bodyguard carrying Maya feels it, that Kawashima is not gonna make it. So instead of running away, they head back to Occult Academy to make their last stand. Kawashima uses the last of her energy to free Minoru from Mikaze's spell. She tells him to tell Maya that her father is actually alive. She used her magic to send him somewhere else and created a body double like she did for Maya. After that, Kawashima sends Minoru after Maya. He gets picked up by Ami's dad after they take care of the weird old lady twins, and they all head down to Occult Academy. When Mikaze shoots her final spell at Maya, the spell bounces off, and that's when Maya reveals that she too has learned the art of misdirection. She gave Minoru a fake notebook, and that's what Mikaze destroyed. But now that Mikaze knows this, she just shoots the book out of Maya's hand, and Maya becomes as helpless as before. Luckily, Minoru shows up just in time and distracts Mikaze. Maya takes a picture of both of them together and warns Minoru that Mikaze is the Nostradamus key. Immediately, Minoru starts reciting the spell in Maya's notebook, and Maya repeats what he says. Mikaze gets caught like super off guard, and they complete their spell and burn her to a crisp. Immediately, she dies, and all the creatures she summoned disappear, and the townspeople return to normal. Minoru tells her that her father is still alive, and he calls everyone in the future that he has destroyed the key. But when they go outside to celebrate, nothing has changed. Meanwhile, Minoru heads back in to say goodbye to Maya. With this mission completed, it's time for him to head back home. But Maya's like, nah, I don't want you to go. Realizing she has to act fast, Maya invites Minoru's mom and his younger self to the Academy Special Assembly. When Minoru hears this, he agrees to stay for one more day just to see his former family. But there's one thing that bothers Minoru. He has his memories from childhood, but he can't remember ever coming to Occult Academy. Minoru calls the future and tells them of the new development. That's when they give him a stern warning never to come in contact with his younger self. Turns out, Minoru is the Nostradamus key, and by sending him to the past to find the key, they have brought about the future they were trying to avoid. When Maya learns the truth, she calls Minoru's mom and cancels the appointment with some very harsh words, but the ball's already in motion. Minoru's younger self decides to leave the house on his own, and he enters Occult Academy and gives himself a special tour. And as he wanders about, he runs into his older version, and the future they were trying to avoid starts all over again. The skies open and aliens start invading. But Minoru is no longer a wuss. He faces his destiny, determined to turn around this time. He charges at the monsters and forces them back into the sky by disappearing with him. When his younger self wakes up, he's gone. Together with his disappearance, the future finally changes. Maya's dad, who was sent to the future, finally calls Maya, and he's surprised when she picks up. Because the past has changed, timelines have adjusted, so she invites him home for lunch, while she continues to care for young Minoru, her lover, who is trapped in time.